Hello there, and welcome to my little arty corner of YouTube. I'm Angela, I'm also known as Artwyrd. That's my business name, but Angela's fine. And it's the 25th of February, it's Friday, and it's past 1 o'clock in the afternoon because I've been busy working this morning to get the cover for the book that comes after Adorable Dogs coloured and completed and off. So I've done that. Oh, it takes me hours to colour them in. I do it digitally. You think it would be quicker, wouldn't you? Oh yeah, you would, but not when you're me. So I am feeling a bit overwhelmed at the moment, and I've discovered I've got a delivery due today, and I've got no idea what it is. So that's confused me. So I'm not in a rush to get out and about. But I just thought I'd take some time while I'm waiting for that to just draw. Do some drawing would be quite nice, I think. And so what I've got here, it's a piece of Ohuhu marker paper that's 8 1/4 inches by 8 1/4 inches, or 21 centimetres square. And all I've done is I've put a pencil border in it. I've grabbed a couple of pens and my pencil. So I've got an 05 Unipin pen and I've got an 03 Sakura Micron, and I think I'm just going to see what happens as I draw. It's been a difficult, in some ways a weird few days. I just think that after the last couple of years, I'm just so used to being able to just be at home. Enjoy being at home, not having to dash around all over the place as I used to. And I didn't have to dash around, it's what I seem to spend my days doing. And so when things come along, like having to get my car to the garage, having a loan car, taking the loan car back the next day to pick my car up, and other things, it all seems to just eat into my day. And I don't mind, but it's so frustrating at the same time, in some ways. And it's meant that what time I've had to focus on getting the cover done more than anything else. So I've no idea what I'm drawing here. I haven't started with a plan. I really haven't, and I'm fine with that because that's mostly how I end up doing my drawings anyway. It's not Fragment Friday. My head just couldn't compute that today at all. So we're getting something a little bit on the different side, perhaps. Just a little bit different. Just some drawing and some wittering, and just see where this leads. I'm not going to finish the whole drawing. I mean, sort of like 8 inches by 8 inches rough waist, less than that. It was probably about 7 1/4, 7 1/2, 7 3/4 inches by 7 3/4 inches. Oh, I don't know what that is in centimetres, unless I get a ruler out. What is that? About 18 centimetres by, 7 1/4 inches, which are the same sort of measurement, 18 centimetres by 18 centimetres, 17 1/4, no, 7 1/4 inches by 7 1/4 inches. 17 1/4 inches would be ridiculous. I have been known to draw A3 drawings, but not very often. It takes me a very long time to draw something that's like this big generally, because you know I'm going to get into detail, don't you? You know that. Marker paper is quite nice to draw on because it is very smooth, and it gives me the option of using alcohol markers if I wish afterwards. I don't know though. Maybe another drawing that I scan in with the intention of adding colour digitally and never get round to it, because that happens quite a lot with me. So that's forming quite, already starting to get layers happening here. And I do like to work in layers, it has to be said. So I've just picked up my smaller pen here just so I can finish off some of these lines nicely, or add that little bit of weight at the bottom that I like, to attach them firmly one to another, a bit like stained glass leads, or the lead in stained glass that holds the pieces of glass together. A bit like that. It's my phone pinging. Is that telling me that my delivery is due? Have a look, Amo. Talk amongst yourselves. No, of course it isn't. So, talk amongst yourselves while I just look at my phone rudely for a moment. I do need to go out, but as long as it arrives before about 4:30, I should be okay. I need to pick a prescription up from the pharmacy. So if I go, I think they're open till 5:30, 6 o'clock, so that should be fine. As long as I get myself sorted and organised in the meantime. And what am I doing? Sorting and organising myself? Well, yeah, I am. I'm getting myself into a bit of a calmer, more settled kind of place here. After some hours of very focused digital art, I mean very focused. I just realised I could have done with a cup of tea, but I shall sort that in a little while. It's no great shakes. I'm sorry if that went off screen. All I was doing was adding little bits here. So that's quite a nice corner piece, isn't it? So, quite zentangly. But as you know, I don't always stick with zentangly kinds of stuff. I don't think it's going to be a Doodle World drawing. It's got a feeling more of being playing with patterns perhaps and shapes more than anything else. But that's me. And yet we're all going to get dizzy as I twist and turn the paper around. So how are you all doing? I just want to say thank you once again for all the likes and subscribes and comments that I get. It's just amazing. It just amazes me. I just think it's lovely. And it really does amaze me that you find watching me draw and me whittering on about utter rubbish at times interesting. I mean, there's so much going on in the world at the moment that it's nice perhaps to have a bit of a break from that. My email inbox is full of petitions to sign, and which I've done. It's not full of them now, it was, but I've taken care of those because it's one way to have our voices heard, I suppose. Or at least we can say we tried to have our voices heard. So, I tend to keep an eye on what's going on in the world at a bit of a distance. I don't get embroiled in it too much, but it does concern me. I woke up yesterday morning to 2 pieces of bad news: the situation in the Ukraine, having dreadful, and the news of somebody I knew having suddenly passed away last weekend, completely unexpected. So that was a bit sad. Well, a lot sad actually. They were only 55. And it was a sudden death. So all of this going on. And sometimes the only thing that can help me stay calm and focused, or focused on being calm and not getting panicked about things and worrying about things before they've happened, or worrying about things after they've happened and I can do nothing about them, is to draw. Because drawing does give me a lot of comfort, pleasure, joy even, or just, it's that meditative process. And I didn't get to do much drawing for me yesterday. I did some in a video, but it was a very quick one. See, all of yesterday's art was focused on adding colour. I don't know how many hours it's taken me to colour in that one template. But I'm quite happy with how it looks. It's funny, I'm never quite sure about what I've drawn, because I often think, oh, this is a bit blank and boring. And then you add colour and suddenly it comes to life. Yeah. These are ones that drawings that I'm more likely, I may add colour to them, who knows, because I don't at the moment. Or they may go into this pile of things that may end up in colouring books at some point. But I don't know why I swapped to the smaller pen. There's nothing here I want to do with the smaller pen at the moment, other than I do want to add a little line there. So I hope you're all doing okay, that you're finding time to be creative and perhaps to try out some of the things that I've been drawing. So, oh, phone just pinged. It's staying on because who knows what's going to happen. Yeah. Me and my phone. It's a blessing and a curse. I do tend to leave it all over the place. I never quite know where I'm going to find my phone. At home. And I know friends can get a bit frustrated with me because they'll be trying to get in touch and I've just left my phone somewhere and I'm ignoring it totally. So it does annoy me just a bit. And the number of times I leave it on silent after I've deliberately turned it to silent to attend a meditation meeting or some such. I just completely forget to turn it back on. And I find out days later that somebody's been trying to get in touch with me. It's not deliberate. It's just that I just forget. It's not at the top of my radar. So, quite like that. It looks like a strange mushroom from the bottom with the stalk missing. So if I like one, I am likely to pop a couple in close together, aren't I? It's this wibbly wobbly line around the outside, and it's really doesn't matter if you create this to be completely, equidistant, or this inner bit is roughly circular around there or not. Completely asymmetrical. It's something that you don't have to think about drawing particularly. So I'll add the kinds of gills in like I did with the other one. I'm starting by drawing lines from these bits that point downwards. And then after I've done those, I go back and fill in any bigger gaps with more lines. That's what I want to do. Just work out if they look nicely distributed. can tell I've been drawing digitally because my skills at using a pen tend to diminish somewhat. I have noticed that I do hold and use my pen quite differently when I draw on my screen. For a start, it's a lot bigger, and I tend to use not so much my wrist and fingers, it's more of an arm movement involved. Quite different. So when I return to this, unless I draw daily, then it can become a bit of a sort of hit and miss experience for me. There, we'll just make that line a little bit thicker, but it'll be fine. And then I've got to do a third one, so let's pop one up here. These remind me a bit of a seed pod kind of shape, but I'm happy for them to be whatever they are. Very versatile kinds of things, circle. Circles are circular motifs. I think this one's going to have to pretend that it's going this way because it just didn't feel right just to end it where it was. So we'll pop a couple of lines in here. And I've just noticed what I've missed out. I'll go back and do that in a moment. I really am having trouble drawing here, but it's fine. There's not really much else for me to say in many ways because, you know, life just potters on with me. I do a lot of art. Oh, I did for the first time in I don't know how long pick up my flute and play some music a couple of days ago. And I said to myself, I'm going to practice daily. I haven't done so since. I think things like cars and stress just got in the way, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It would take a lot of work to get my tone and embouchure back. But I actually taught myself how to play. I'm capable of reading music and so on. When I was in secondary school, I fell in love with music as a subject. And I also fell in love with the sound of the flute. So one of the first lessons, or first series of lessons we had in music was about the instruments of the orchestra. And we were played, I think it's Benjamin Britten's Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra. So you get to hear every instrument on its own and what it sounds like and, you know, so on and so forth. From what I remember, I haven't listened to it since then. And I fell in love with the flute so much. And I really wanted to learn how to play the flute. But I'm incredibly shy, surprisingly. And it took a lot of time for me to pluck up the courage to ask if I could have flute lessons. Because at the time I was in school, music lessons were free. The school had a cache, for want of a better word, of musical instruments that people learning to play instruments could borrow until they either decided that they wanted to buy their own, or if they couldn't afford to buy their own, they'd have one to practice on and to learn. And by the time I actually plucked up the courage to speak to the music teacher and ask about learning an instrument, it transpired that the only instruments they had left were cellos and double basses, and those were the only lessons learnt as well, or lessons available, because the number of lessons available depended on the number of instruments available, really. And so I opted to learn to play the cello, which I also like the sound of, you know. wasn't my first choice, but I was calm and cool with that. Of course, I didn't check with my parents if it was okay, so by the time I brought the cello home, they had no choice really. And I did that, and I did enjoy it. Played in orchestras. I was given a solo once, and I just went to pieces. And you know, I'm perfectly fine playing an instrument if I can hide away somewhere. You know, not on the first desk, on the outside desks. Put me on the inside where people can't see me, and I can focus on what I'm playing. And especially if I have no role of responsibility, or I'm not the only, instrument of that kind playing, because I will get incredibly nervous. So, anyway, to carry on the story, so now I must have asked if it was okay for me to learn to have cello lessons, which it was, because it was free. They didn't have to do anything really, other than buy even music, sort of like you buy your own music books, but they would supply them as well at that time if necessary, until you decided you really wanted to play this instrument, which is what I did. So I told my mother, and her aunt, I was all upset about not being able to learn the flute, because I really did want to. I didn't express this to her until after I'd asked. And her words were, for goodness sakes, don't know why you wanted to, learn the flute anyway. You'd never be able to play it. You've got the wrong shaped mouth. So 11 years old, you look to your parents for wisdom. And I believed my mother. If we go forward about 30 odd years, a really good friend of mine phoned me up. It was Friday afternoon, and said, right, get a pen and pencil. Okay. Or pen and paper, pen and pencil paper. Write this number down. Okay. Give it a ring. Okay. When you phone up, there's a concert there tonight. Is there? And you will find there's a ticket there for you. There will be a ticket available for you. How do you know? Well, there'll be a ticket available for you. And you are going to going to this concert. Who is it? Just phone them up and phone me back when you've done it. Okay, said I. I don't argue with this particular friend when they do things like this. So I phoned up, and it was the St David's Centre in Cardiff, and it's a concert venue, often for classical and so on. So I didn't quite know what was to expect, so I phoned up, and I got put through to reception, and they said, can we help you? I said, yes. Do you have any tickets for the concert tonight? And they said, funnily enough, we do. We've just had 2 returned. It was sold out. So they said, which would you prefer? There's a ticket for the second row from the front, or there's one right up in the gods. So I said, second row from the front would be nice. That's fantastic. What's your name? It'll be ready for you at reception. I paid over the phone by card. And then they said, is there anything else? I said, yes. What's the concert tonight? And I could hear this stony silence. I said, it sounds crazy, but a friend of mine has told me I had to phone up and get tickets for the concert tonight, but they wouldn't tell me what it was. And they said, it's Jethro Tull. I said, Jethro Tull! Oh my gosh, it's Jethro Tull. So I rather like Jethro Tull. And so I went to the concert. It was very scary because it was by myself. I'd never been to a concert before by myself. I'm not very good at going out alone to things. But I went, and I was in the second row from the front. I was close to the middle of the stage, so I could see everything that was going on. And it was absolutely amazing. I was absolutely blown away, completely by the musicianship, by the music. There was one cover they did, which was, it'll come to me. It's by Led Zeppelin. And they had a guest violinist. Oh my gosh, she wrecked her bow. Kashmir. It was absolutely amazing. I can still remember it to this day. So I got home, and I was told I had to email my friend when I got home and say what I thought, and compare notes, because they'd seen the same band, Jethro Tull, the night before in a different location and told me I had to go and see it. So I did. So after I'd emailed, I decided to write, because I'd been reminded so much of how much I loved the flute and how much I love the sound of it, especially when you've got somebody like Ian Anderson, who's the frontman of Jethro Tull, plays the flute so amazingly. So I went online and I had a look at flutes prices, flute tutor books, because I can read music. And I thought, okay then. I found a flute that was half price in a sale with a music shop, not an eBay thing, that said it was suitable for somebody to learn on, and even up to concert level. And so I bought that because it was half price and it was about the same as cheap flutes, and things like that. So I thought, right, we'll have this one. It had really good reviews. It was a big music shop as well, so it wasn't, anything like that. And I went on Amazon and ordered some flute tutor books. So they arrived, and within a week, I taught myself basic fingering, was starting to play, I was getting my embouchure and so on. And I suddenly realised I've just proven my mother wrong. She told me that I'd never be able to play a flute, and I can. I may not be brilliant, I may not be concert class, but I can play it, it sounds okay, and I enjoy it. And that's all that matters. And so that's my story. And the same friend surprised me with something, because I'd bought my first smart car and was talking about it. And I said, oh, it's only little. And he said, well, there's only you, you're the one who does the travelling. You rarely do anything with anybody else, not meaning that in a bad way. It's just how I am. And, well, what more do you want? You've got space in the boot for, a weekend bag. And you'd be able to fit a folk harp in there. I said, you what? Folk harp? I haven't got a folk harp. And they went, not yet. So I went looking at folk harps. And I bought an electric one. I had to wait quite a long while because they were individually made in America. And it was quite a long while. And by the time it was made for me and I was charged for it, the interest rates had changed in my favour. And so I paid a fraction of the cost in pounds as it was in dollars. So that was absolutely brilliant. So I've got that here and I haven't practiced that for a long time. So there you are. And I haven't been drawing. I've just been turning my paper around telling you a story because I'm lost in the memory of this. And so when I pick up my flute, I remember how much I love playing it, and then I forget to play every day, or I get sidetracked with other things that take my energy and focus. You said that, I was looking at acoustic bass guitars the other day. I've never been able to play the guitar because my fingers are quite short, and I'm told that isn't a barrier, but I'm going, it is if you haven't got the strength or flexibility in them. To play the guitar, and I just can't get my head round that. But my reasoning was, I think, something along the lines, well, a bass guitar is a bit like a cello. It's got 4 strings. It's not, you might play chords perhaps occasionally, but you're more likely to be playing individual notes or small groups of notes, as you would in a bass line on, with a cello. And perhaps I'd be able to cope with that better. I've had a look. I haven't bought one yet. I'm still dithering about getting a keyboard because I used to love to play the piano. I had piano lessons, when I was well into music. So I'd like to learn to play the clarinet actually as well sometime. So yeah, so there you are, story time. Really am quite musical in my own little way. I used to sing with a couple of choirs. But for some reason I stopped. I think there were other things I got involved in and something had to go. And I think it was the choir because it clashed with something I really wanted to do on a particular night. And I started having trouble with my throat again. So, and I've not taken it up since I've had asthma. I've got problems with my throat. I'm not sure if I've damaged before I was diagnosed with asthma, the coughing fits. I'm not sure if I damaged my vocal cords coughing one night because I felt something almost snap in my throat. But slowly I'm beginning to be able to sing again, but not like I used to, sadly. But I think I'm not sure if it's that or whether it's the inhalers I take, because one of the side effects is a hoarse voice, so on, so one of those things. But there's always ways to make music. Just need to remember to dig my flute out from time to time. Well, I don't have to dig it out. I know exactly where it is. There is no digging out required. The music might need a bit of digging out because it's all piled one on top of another. But we'll see what happens. I don't know. And if you're thinking about saying, why don't you play it and record it and share it? Nope, not going to happen. I haven't played the flute for, it could be months, it could be years. I really don't know. And so no, I'm not sharing. Not good enough. It really is just for my pleasure. I don't think it's for other people's pleasure. Yeah, quite like that. I like filling areas with these random kinds of shapes. Well, they're not perfectly spherical. They are very random shapes that have points or rounded points on them, and they will vary in size. But I do like that as a texture to fill a space in. Long enjoyed this. So I've got, I don't know, nearly a quarter of this page filled in whilst I've been telling stories as well. I've paused for that. The lesson in the story is that, we all grow up with people who sometimes I think they perhaps mean well by saying, or you can't do this, or you won't be able to do that, or same with me in art. I was told I was absolutely useless at art by everybody around me. I think I've proved them wrong on that one to some degree. But these people perhaps are well-meaning for me to be generous, and but they can leave us very limited because we grow up believing what they say we aren't and what we say these people we've looked to in life saying what we are or what we aren't, and we grow up believing this. And sometimes you just have to give things a go to see. This flute, I realised that if I bought it, it was a good quality one, and if I sold it on, I wouldn't lose much out on it in terms of price or anything. By the way, I now have 3 flutes, and the one I play was really expensive, or it would have been. I wondered why it was so cheap. And when I got it, I was told it was fully functioning. It wasn't. It had one of the keys was broken, which was a bit of a bummer. But I got it fixed. It was, I found somebody, flute repair chap, who did it, and was amazed that he could actually fix it, because he said normally this isn't fixable. And so I've got this beautiful flute. It's a Yamaha flute, and it's got a solid silver head. So and it's beautiful to play. I'm sure I don't do it any justice, but I got a couple of others. I got the original one and so on, so I've always got a flute I can play. In fact, they need servicing. Well, certainly the Yamaha one does. It's been a number of years, so need to get that done at some point, I think. Throw a couple of different ones in here, I think. Then I think that's where I'm going to leave it with you today, because I need to get some tea and I need to sort myself out, tidy myself up so I can dash down to the pharmacy before they close at some point. So I'm going to say thank you very much for joining me today. If you've enjoyed the video, thumbs up please. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And any lovely comments are most welcome. It's always lovely to see. And perhaps I'll carry on with this tomorrow. Or maybe I'll do something else. But I'm sure there'll be a video tomorrow. It's Saturday, so yeah. And I've got my cover done and I haven't got anything else pressing, so they'll be fine. So until I speak to you again, take care, look after yourselves, and find time to be creative, however you would like to be creative. Take care for now. Bye-bye. Bye.